Hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about obviously the hottest topic possible. Every news line, everything is the COVID-19 virus. First thing I want to say is what we're doing today is going to be mainly for educational purposes. It's not to be taken as medical advice. Everybody needs to contact a physician if they're dealing with the common symptoms of a virus like this and get themselves diagnosed and treated properly. But I want to share some of my expertise as far as the immune system, how to keep it strong. But let's start with something simple. And I think everyone needs to understand something. A virus is an amazing entity. It's even defined roughly as maybe not being alive because it cannot reproduce itself without properly being in a host. It can be dormant on surfaces and it can be dormant inside our body actually, but it can't reproduce on its own. So it's an interesting thing when you start to read about whether a virus is alive or not. But let's start by looking at something interesting. Our own body, our own DNA, has 5 to 8% is viral. So we have actually grown up with so many viruses, and they've infected us throughout time, throughout millennia, that they're actually part of the material that we're actually made out of. And viruses infect all living beings. Every single living entity, every single living being has been and will continue to be infected by viruses. And whether that's a challenging environment or a really, really non-symptomatic type of situation varies with every single virus. The majority of the viruses that we ingest are actually harmless and pass right through us. For example, if you're in the sea, if you're in the ocean, 1 teaspoon of seawater contains 2 to 3 million viruses. So imagine you're getting seawater in your sinuses, in your throat, you're swallowing it, it's going all over your body, and you're getting 2 to 3 million viruses on you for every teaspoon. Most of these viruses are harmless. They do not blend well with our DNA, they can't set up camp there, and they leave us alone. But of course, there's exceptions. Every reproductive cycle that a virus goes through, it can mutate, and it probably does. And a reproductive cycle is when someone's infected and they infect someone else. So when that virus then goes through its cycle with you and infects somebody else, it has the ability and usually does mutate. And that mutation can be better or worse for us and or for the virus. Now, what's interesting is what causes viruses to mutate. One of the most interesting things I found was that environmental stressors cause that. Imagine we're all trying to adapt to our environment. And throughout time, we have done a lot of different adaptations and evolutionary steps, and we've been created or evolved in different ways to deal with the environment that we're in, and viruses are no different. So as they mutate, they can do it more rapidly when they're under stress. So let's look at think about where these stressful situations might be occurring. They could be occurring as a virus tries to jump from one species to another. And if you've read the news, you'll see that this is where they think this thing came from. Now, one last thing about viruses that makes them really kind of amazing. There's a million amazing things about viruses. Let's take the simple chickenpox virus. Everyone's familiar with that. And if you look, that virus, once you get it, you get the chickenpox and then you get through it, it actually stores in the brainstem as a dormant virus, stays there for potentially the rest of your life. And when the immune system is decreased with age or a lot of emotional or physical stress, you can get the shingles. People realize that people in their 80s, a lot of times will get a shingles rash. And it's because their immune system is not as great as it was. It's less reactive. It's thought that every time this virus tries to come out, the immune system actually gobbles it up and keeps it at bay. And then when we're not doing so well, it actually gets to the surface, gets on our skin, and actually can give somebody chickenpox. It can't give somebody else shingles, but it can give you chickenpox if you haven't had them or the vaccine. Now, how is this COVID-19 different from the flu, right? There's an endless number of flu viruses that go on throughout time. And every year, we try to make a flu shot or a flu vaccine for the common flu, as we refer to it as. And the main difference between COVID-19 and the flu is how contagious it is. And we measure the amount of contagiosum of a virus by something called an R0 number. R0 value. So the flu, the classic one that we're used to, that we see most of the time has a 1.2 R0 value. And that's just how contagious. And a way to look at that is one person has it and they sneeze and get virus all over the place. and about one person gets it, maybe two, and then another person, another, and it's not really exponential, but it does spread. So a lot of people end up getting it. And in this country, it's estimated that 15 to 30,000 people die of the flu, the common flu, every single year. It's a massive number, and it's spread out over about a 6-month period. Now, the COVID-19 has an R value of 2 to 3, so it's more contagious. Now, it's by no means the most contagious virus in the world. Measles is way more contagious. But what that means is one person gets it, and they get in a crowd of people and sneeze and cough, and then 3 people get it, and each of those 3 people go out, sneeze and cough and breathe on people, and it's exponential. So a lot of people get it in a very fast way. And that's why we talk about decreasing that curve, right? So people aren't crowding hospitals. And that gets to all the social distancing and all the washing the hands and all the stuff that we're doing right now. Now, how is it spread? Like I said, coughing and sneezing and touching things. Fecal oral as well. If people aren't very clean, obviously, it's in throughout the body when someone's deeply infected, and you can get it all over the place. Respiratory droplets are more commonly how it's spread, because that can be a mist that you put out when you cough or sneeze. And, a virus has been able to survive for endless amounts of time. You don't survive if you're not smart. And one of the things viruses can do is get on you, and you can be contagious for many days. Some people say up to 14 days, and you can hear different numbers. Let's not get stuck on these small number differences, but up to 14 days before you're symptomatic. So you're walking around feeling great, and you actually are still contagious. So if we look at how easily it's spread, we can see why we're going to different lengths to do this. The problem, of course, is one of the best defenses against this is having a strong immune system. That's why you see the elderly not doing so well with this virus. And the common flu virus tends to affect kids as well, because kids don't have as developed an immune system. And the elderly have a sort of failing one. And on top of that, this tends to be a respiratory virus, so it's going to go after people with lung issues. Smokers, people with COPD, people that are inactive, just don't have good lung function because they're obese and they have other issues, what we call comorbidities. The term comorbidity means anything that's likely to lead to your death relatively soon. Diabetes is one of those things, high blood pressure. Most of the diseases that that people are walking around with that are significant and can lead to the end of your life sooner than you'd like are comorbidities. The other thing a virus really needs is co-infection. Now, you'll see that a lot of people will have a virus. They'll go to the doctor, they'll be diagnosed with some kind of viral, and he'll give them an antibiotic. And you think, well, antibiotics, I didn't think killed viruses. That's very true. But what he's doing in that situation is making sure that you also don't have a co-infection. So you could have co-infections in your gums, other parts of your body, and your immune system is challenged with that. Meanwhile, the virus is there as well, and you have two things fighting. It's thought that a virus is kind of like a garbage man, meaning it picks up the dead tissue in your body and lives off of that. So when you have dirty environments, much like these wet markets that you hear about in China, it's more likely to grow in those environments. So we want to be clean, obviously, and have a clean environment that we find ourselves in. So what can we do about this? Well, all the stuff is all the stuff that is in the news. I won't bore you with washing hands and all the social distancing. We know this stuff. But let's look at how we can strengthen the immune system. We have a lot of control over this, okay? So first off, a massive difference can be made by simply eliminating sugar from your diet. It's estimated that a teaspoonful of sugar can decrease your immune system 80% for 20 minutes. So imagine that you're fighting all this infection, all these viruses all around you all the time, common flu ones, common cold ones, coronaviruses that are all over the place, causing anything. And for 20 minutes, you have a diminished immune system, right? It's a problem. So we want to get that out of our diet, especially right now, and anytime there's flu season. Eating the rainbow, as we call it. In other words, foods of different color, right? We want to have different pigments because the phytonutrient content, the super great nutrients found in food, is different in different colors food. So we want the different pigments and the different phytonutrients to be able to do all the healthy things to make us just a stronger person in general, including our immune system. Now, eating good fats, avocados and nuts, we want to make sure that we have proper immune system related to the fat ingestion. Cooking with ginger, garlic, and turmeric has been shown to have an effect as well. And then the supplements. Now, these are the basic supplements that are good for an immune system. We want to make sure we have enough vitamin C. And for most people, and this is adults, 3 to 5,000 milligrams. Vitamin D, 500 international units. Zinc, 30 milligrams. Make sure you eat your zinc with food because it can be a mild stomach irritant. Selenium, 200 micrograms, not milligrams. Fish oil. Magnesium at 500 milligrams. Okay, so these are all things that are going to make our immune system be able to be faster and more efficient and get rid of a lot of these viruses and bacteria. And also cancer cells, where the immune system actually does fight cancer. That's another topic you can look up. It's fascinating. They're doing immune therapies right now to help people with cancer. Now, another big one is reducing cortisol. Now, cortisol is a chemical that's released under high stress, and it's been shown to have a detrimental effect on your immune system. So we got to get the stress out of our lives. We all know this, but there's a lot of ways of doing that. When we're in pain, we actually have more cortisol, and that could be emotional or physical pain. So we want to be able to get the pain out of our body as well as get the body stimulated in a relaxed state. So one of the things we can do, of course, is meditation and prayer. We want to be able to get ourselves in that state, which we refer to as the parasympathetic. It's the side of the nervous system that heals us and digests our food, as opposed to the sympathetic, which is what we used to go to war, to go to battle, and to be challenged and carry on and do more challenging things in our lives. Exercise, of course. A nature walk right now is great. A lot of gyms are closed, so it's a problem. Go outside in nature. And of course, yoga. Great thing you can do in your own house. There's plenty of YouTube videos. Pick a yoga that's right for your abilities. Start very basic, of course. Chiropractic and massage. There's been a lot of evidence that when you get pain and you get tension out of your body, your cortisol comes down. And just simply that can improve your immune system, like we set up here. Drinking water. Now, sipping water every 15 minutes to clear your throat out is one theory, because they believe that this starts in the throat and it's in there for a short time. And if you can wash that down, get it past the lungs right into your stomach, the stomach acids could kill the virus, and they do kill the virus. These viruses are not hard to kill. They're just hard to get out of you once they're in you. You want to make sure and you could drink that as hot water as well, because heat does get after these things. There's been some controversy about the summer coming and that killing viruses. And I saw something interesting recently, that it's not just heat, it's the combination of heat and humidity that really is a killer for these viruses. So until it gets hot and humid, that's when we have the most effects. That's why we have a flu season. That's one of the reasons the flu season is not during heat and humidity, it's during cold and dry. So also sleep. Now, sleep is how our bodies repair themselves, and actually it helps us with our stress. So getting 8 hours of sleep, if you can, is fantastic. Now, the time at which you go to bed is also important for the immune system and for your general health and your overall ability to be rested. Going to bed at 9 p.m., I know that's early, and getting up at 5 a.m. is the ultimate time. The closer you can get to that, the better. It isn't like you have to do this exactly, but the closer you get to that, the better. The sleep you get before midnight is way more valuable than the sleep you get after midnight. Plenty of studies on that. A sauna. Now, there's been some controversy, and I've read a lot about this, that a sauna isn't going to kill this virus. Well, if it's on the outside of your body, it's certainly going to kill this virus. If it's inside your body, not as great, but think about what a fever does. Why do we bother getting a fever if heat doesn't kill the virus, right? So there's some value to sauna, I believe. Deep breathing. We want to be able to breathe in and breathe out, oxygenate the body, give the body the energy. Our body always does better. Its immune system works more efficiently if we're energized. And oxygen is one of the most crucial nutrients we get in our body. So we want to breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in 4 seconds, breathe out in 8, 10 times in a row, every hour. So every hour, breathe in 4, breathe out in 8, till you've completed 10 cycles. That stimulates the whole body. It also stimulates your lymphatic system. The largest aggregation of lymph tissue in your body is your thymus, not your thyroid, your thymus. It sits right below your sternum. Actually, there's the technique called the thymus pump, where you actually strike your sternum really hard about 10 to 20 times as you breathe in and you breathe out. Make a nice pounding sound with it, and that vibrates the thymus. A lot of the reason that massage and chiropractic and exercise and yoga is good for the immune system is because it moves your lymphatic system. Squeezing the body, deep breathing helps move your lymph system, okay? So in summary, what we want to do is understand more about viruses and how they work. Realize also that you have a biotome, which is the bacteria on the outside of your body, and you have a virome, which is the viruses on the outside of your body. Look into that. I think that's fascinating because a lot of these are very beneficial. It's not every virus is detrimental. Some of them are beneficial, just like bacteria. There's ones that don't work so well for us, and there's ones that are actually keeping us really strong and giving our immune system something to do besides attack self, because that's what happens when you don't have enough bacteria. There's a great book by Dr. Josh Axe called Eat Dirt, which is about how to get soil organisms in your body. It's not actually eating dirt, but that's just the title. But it's how to get, making sure that you're getting enough bacterium in your body to replenish the microtome that builds and lives in your intestine, all the probiotics and these kind of things, fermented foods that help balance our whole system out. So be clean, of course, keep the body stimulated, eat the good foods, and I believe that your immune system is going to be the best it can be, and we'll all get through this thing without any big issues. Thanks.